Hello and welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for having me. It's so great to see you.
It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here. We've been trying to have this video for many, many years now. I'm
We
very,
did.
very glad. I'm very glad that finally we have the courage to stand before the camera, sit before the camera actually, and to shoot this video finally.
Yeah, there is big credit that goes to you. I know how many times you asked me. Either there was no time or maybe there was a little lack of courage on my side. As you know, I started my professional life as a journalist and I'm so much more used to ask the question than being asked and to help people how to appear on camera, but not
You
really
wanted,
doing it myself, you
you
know.
wanted to trade.
No, I want to go out of my comfort zone, so that's all good.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So, for those who are watching us today, and maybe there is up to 7,000 people on our LinkedIn page alone who potentially might be watching you today, would you kindly take a moment to present yourself?
Of course, with pleasure. Thank you very much. So I already shared that I started my professional life as a journalist, and since I have uh, made just quite some steps to very various directions. So I studied economics, um, and I moved out of from the journalism. I moved more into PR and marketing, which for journalists is not a great thing. We're so proud to be independent and fact-based and so on. But I really enjoyed this. Was a founder in my early 20s already with my own little agency, and then had great opportunities in industry to be in different roles, different leadership roles. The short version is everything except finance, like really from marketing to sales to even head of production and so on and so on, which was a great learning. And then in 2018, I decided to uh, free my job back then as a CEO, let young people raise, and started my own business as a business consultant and executive coach. And this is what I do until today.
That's great. That's absolutely great. I would like to come back to some of the points that you have mentioned as we go through this discussion, but I think it's an amazing start. Thank you very much for sharing this. I would like to start with your early journey and your background. Um, if you're talking about before the Swiss quality, let's talk about what led you to the Swiss quality. Let's talk about your life, I think, in Germany, in the area of Braunschweig. Was that right?
Yeah, that's where I'm born. That's where I'm from, Braunschweig in Lower Saxony, um, and that's where I went to school. And I started my professional life as a journalist there also.
Great.
Then I moved to France for a year. I lived in Paris, what I always wanted to do,
Oh, really? What took you
which
to France?
what took me to France really a dream from my youth. I maybe I can say I'm quite francophile. So I always had a big heart and felt very connected with this country, with the people, with the culture, of course, with the cuisine and art and everything. I went there many times during my school time, and I really, really wanted to figure out how is it to live there. And I especially loved Paris. So I went to Paris. I had an old Renault 19 from my father back then. I charged it with everything I had, which easily entered into such a car, um, and went to Paris. And I had this very naive idea that Paris was waiting for a young German speaking journalist. And then I had to figure out that this was not the case. And especially you had to be perfect in French, which I wasn't, at least back then. So then I just bought Figaro, a big French newspaper. Every Monday, I think they have the had the announcement. So back then it was not internet research, but Figaro, and I was just looking for a job. and ended up at Euro Disney, which was still quite new in Paris. And with my back then language skills, they accepted me to work at a hotel reception.
Not as a
That
character.
was not as a character. You need to be a professional actor. So, but already to enter as a seasonal worker, to enter and to be right away at the reception, that was quite
Right,
something.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And then how did you move from that Paris experience back to Germany?
It was planned. I had planned that I would stay there for a year, and I was really hungry to discover the world. As I said, it was my early 20s, and I had the idea to move on to New York because this is also something I've always wanted to live at and figure out how it feels, not as a tourist, but as really making your life there. But then, for personal reasons, I decided to go back to Germany. I went back there and started after a short while, started indeed my first own company. I was a founder to create my little business. This was a press and PR agency back then.
At that young age, I can imagine how much your father and mother were proud of you at that age.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Motivation for this actually was I have a grown up son, a wonderful man, not a boy, a man of 30 years now. But back then, I was so proud young mother, but I always wanted to continue to work. And 30 years ago, this, at least where I lived back then, there was not the infrastructure. It really wasn't possible to have my child in good hands and also to be able to work. So I organized my own setup with the au pair girl and founded my own company just because otherwise I couldn't manage to work and I so much wanted it. And at the same time, so much wanted there to be for my child. And this is what worked out best for me.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. And then, is it time now that we start actually talking about this with quality, or is it too early?
No, absolutely. If you want to, you just ask me what made me move on. Um,
Yes.
and
What
as
made
I
you move
said,
on? Go ahead.
as I said, after this small agency, I started to work at a mid-sized company,
Yes.
450 people, as head of marketing. Um, and then several times in my life, I wasn't so planned back then. Even if I teach this today, I more just saw opportunities, and life was very nice with me. I was very blessed to see and have those opportunities. So I started to work in marketing, and then this company had a request from a very big French company, and nobody spoke French back then. So I contacted this very big and very nice customer who became a good customer. So suddenly I was sales international, and things like that happened several times. So I moved from sales to procurement to after sales to production to logistics, looked after merger and acquisition, and so on. So this was great time learning a lot. And through an MBO, I became part of this company and CEO. And actually, in my early 30s, I was part of a high potential program, and I still remember myself sitting there in Scotland. And we had this one A4 sheet where we had to fill in lines of 5 years what we would like to do with our lives in the different perspectives of life. And I remember I put there that the next two rows, so being the next 10 years, I wanted to be the CEO of a company. Why? Why did I want to be this? Because I wanted to know if I'm able to give inspiration and vision to people and if they would follow with me on that path. And also, I wanted to figure out if I'm really able to take responsibility. I thought I was very courageous, but you always have a boss you can ask for the final decision, or you can criticize if you decide and it doesn't work out, then you can say, yeah, I suggested otherwise. And I wanted to know, am I really able to take those final decisions? So this is why I wanted to become CEO. And in the third line, so after 10 years, I already wrote down, I don't want to be this for until retirement. From own bad experience, I never ever wanted to block career lines for young talents. So I thought after 10 years, you pull out and then you might have enough experience yourself to be able to help other people and organizations to grow. And this is why I decided then to become an executive coach and business consultant. This is what I still do today. And this is what led to this with quality.
That's
And
absolutely
I
amazing.
really, really still love this job and feel so blessed
I'm sure
to
this
meet
will
so
be
many people. Yeah.
inspiration for everybody in that age group. I know a lot of people who think that being the leader of your own company usually means that you have to have a lot of money and you're somewhere in your late 40s. But I'm happy to
No,
hear that in your 30s, you were already in a high potential program and you already put for the next 5 years, my goal is to be the CEO of my own company.
yes.
Okay. And that led us to this Swiss quality.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So we've met in 2018 and in 2019, we decided to create this company. Would you kindly share from your perspective what inspired you to co-found the Swiss Quality in 2019 and how your experiences prior to that shaped your approach?
Yes, absolutely happy to do so. So, as I just shared in my professional but also private life, uh, things had kind of come to an, can I say an end? But there was a phase is coming to an end. I pulled out of this company that I've been working for many years and been the co-owner and CEO, and started something new. Decided to be finally the consultant and coach that I had planned for 10 years before. And I have experienced and lived and learned a lot of great things in northern Germany for many years, but it felt like it's time again to have a bigger change in my life. And we decided back then, indeed, to move to Switzerland. So not only to visit, but we would quit Germany and we would go from the north to the south. As I was already traveling a lot, for me it was not that important from where I'm traveling, but I really, really wanted to get a new side in my life and experience new country was very exciting for me. Why Switzerland? Of course, there have been personal reasons, but we have also been discussing so much about why Switzerland and why we wanted to go there. And I still remember when you first told me about Switzerland, as you know Switzerland for so many decades in and out, and you first told me, like saying, you can't imagine how well organized and clean and wonderful everything is. And I, of course, believed that, but thought, well, yeah, I mean, we're in Germany, it's not bad too, right? But I have to admit, today I fully understand what you meant. It's just different.
Yes.
It's really different. It's really amazing. And this is the discussions I remember we had those before the fire and at the breakfast and over the weekends and during walks. Um, what makes Switzerland so different? Known in the whole world, of course, for its beauty, but also for the Swiss way. And the Swiss way for us in our discussion had just to do with quality, and not only quality of product and service, but really from a whole different perspective. And I think Switzerland is righteously known for this in the whole world. Um, People have such a commitment to serve, to deliver, and to do it in the best possible way.
Yes. Yes.
This also appeals to the public sector authorities. Sometimes when I share this, people are very surprised, but every single time when I'm in contact, I really feel like the citizen, the who is served like a customer. amazing. I think this is how public sector should be. So that's great. Taking the Swiss train is great. The nature is beautiful. People are great. And I still feel today, after 6 years, it all the time helps you want to be a little bit better than yesterday.
Maybe you should leave under the video disclaimer and say that we are not in any way related to the Ministry of Tourism of Switzerland. We're not being
No,
paid or sponsored by
no.
them. This is genuinely our opinion.
Yes, it's true. Maybe one could say, one could tell I'm a bit, I'm in love with Switzerland.
Definitely.
Yes.
If I may, over the years, I'm going to go back to some of the details, but over the years, how would you say your leadership style has evolved while managing this growing Swiss quality consulting?
That's a great question, Mark. Thank you for this. We have basically started, the two of us, and then quite quickly we built up a team of changing a bit, around 40, 45 people. And we did this in many different countries. We did this with team members in Switzerland, in Germany, in Europe, and beyond. So pretty much on, I think, on almost every continent, right? And it got so normal for us to work through the time zones, through the different cultures. And still today, we have so dear colleagues that are there from day one. And actually, I have never ever met them in life, but I feel so connected and so close. We catch up on a daily basis. And this was even before the pandemic, right? So we had a little advantage. We were already very used to work with video conferencing and to work with people remotely. So this definitely helped me to grow in my leadership style to lead remote teams and to still create a culture and to stay tuned, to stay connected, to be there for each other also when it comes to different moods, one day good, one day not so good, or on personal problems, which for me as an entrepreneur also always was very important, not only to work with people, but to take responsibility and to be there and to create something. So yes, this is definitely something I learned. And a second thing, and this is something I really learned from you and with you, is to be very, very open to, I think in our early phases, we adapted as opportunities arose. We adapted our services. But at the same time, we always only went there if the quality was at top. So we didn't like play around and try things, which would have been completely against our conviction of Swiss quality. But still, we were very, very flexible and open and looked for experts, or were experts ourselves, but to move into new business fields. And that was a great learning journey for me.
That's absolutely great. Thank you very much. I think we have discussed well enough the early journey and the background, and now I would like to move more towards the core values, the vision. Swiss Quality has developed a strong reputation for quality consulting. What do you think set the Swiss Quality apart in the industry?
So one, I think I shared already with you what I think about what quality means, not in
Yes,
terms of quality assurance, but
yes,
really an inner driver to deliver only the very best, to behave the best, and so on and so on. What sets us apart, maybe if I take it to the part of consulting and coaching, is what I hear from our customers, that we are very hands-on. So we're not only theoretically, methodologically bringing ideas and solutions, but we're also there to put things in place. If a customer asks us for business consultancy, that's great. If in addition to this, a video is needed, we will get this because this is our core competency. But also, if we need other services and products that might not be our core competency, we have a huge partner network we love to work with. So this is what I hear back from our customers, that there is almost never a no. There is always a solution, a guidance, a help, or a delivery of services around what we basically were asked for to do for the customer.
That's amazing. Thank you very much for this. If I may, when we started back in 2019, you were already recognized and respected for your work in leadership as a consultant, consulting others on leadership. I would like to ask you if you feel that you yourself you have evolved with this Swiss quality over how you see leadership, something that you have learned yourself about leadership working with the Swiss quality.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. So we do have new needs in terms of leadership today than we had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but also 3 years ago. I already mentioned to be able to work with people who you don't see every day, where you don't give high five in the morning, where you don't have cup of coffee together. So you need to be able to, even if you don't see people, to feel them as being your team. So this is something that I think not only at the Swiss quality, but in our today's world is very important. What I have also learned with this flexibility I was just talking about, with this adapting to our customers, adapting our services, I have learned so much and so new. And I feel today, for example, I jumped full speed into AI, and when ChatGPT was published in November 2022, as you know,
Yes,
I really was like electricity. How do you say this in English?
electrified.
Yes. And loved this topic and learned day and night and tested and experimented and reflected, not only happy, clappy, but also where will this guide us to? Where will this lead to? How do we make sure that ethics, that values are protected, that there's no misuse, or how can we protect against misuse? How can we help our customers to understand, not to miss the train to this new era, to work with AI, all of these parts. What Swiss Quality has learned me in leadership is not only to trust on my skills, but be courageous and to enter new domains. I'm not IT, I'm not data expert, but I think today I can say I have an expertise in AI in a business perspective, how to implement, how to help people, how to help employees, colleagues to get along with this. And this amazes me, just to be open to enter new fields, even if I'm not in my early 20s anymore. And this keeps me fascinated. This I really love. And therefore, Swiss Quality was a huge and great opportunity. And Mark, I got so much from your expertise. Not that I have the expertise, but I got so much inspiration on it. And so many things we felt like this clicks, this works together. This makes not one plus one, but something new together. So this is really, really a learning that I connect to Swiss Quality in terms of leadership.
Thank you very much for sharing this. I'd say in every company, especially when you are in the building phase, then the core values of the people who are overlooking this work impact seriously how this is being built. And if I come to you, say, what were the core values that you prioritized while building and running Swiss Quality, especially in its first 2, 3 years? What would you say?
I would say respect people in their very individual way of being. terms of character, expertise, etc. Stay curious and open-minded, like not come, I know, but stay curious and grow together. This is two that I can spontaneously think of were very important. Do you have a third one?
I would say diversity, respect diversity, and accept and appreciate
Yes,
diversity as a driver of innovation, not as something we
definitely,
tolerate or we just live with, but as something that we
definitely.
welcome. And another one, if you allow me, but this is not about me today, it's encouraging women to apply for managerial positions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You were speaking about diversity. Um, when I was very young and very ambitious, I always wanted to, I think this was made clear, be an entrepreneur, being having responsibility, being a CEO. I always wanted this. And in my early years, when discussions started, like we have to have a quota and we have to have more women, my very first reaction was, I don't need this. I mean, I want to get the job because they want me, and they want my expertise, and they want my drive, maybe my passion. Um, this is something I learned over the years. Even if I still think so, I think women are amazing, men are amazing. Um, the more colorful a team is, the better it is in terms of gender, but also in terms of culture, in terms of nationality, in terms of skills, of talents, of personality. So the more variety you have in a team, the more successful you are. I'm absolutely convinced of this out of experience. But I always felt it's like, why do women need to get percentages to get their jobs? They're great anyways, and men are great also. But I had to learn, and unfortunately, still today, we're not at equal chances. And we're maybe pretty good already where we live today, but not in the whole world, and even in Europe. I mean, the pay gap is before our eyes. I never understood it. I will never understand it. Why? Why is there a difference to be made? So I will always continue to work and to embrace for diversity in all of these perspectives. But this, if I may add one sentence, this also goes for education for boys. I think it was so wonderful what we did over the last maybe 2 3 decades for girls, so that they're interested in management, in technical jobs, and everything. That all of our girls know you can do everything you want. But
Yes,
I think sometimes I feel like we also need to continue to encourage the boys. They also need the same encouragement that they can do everything they want.
absolutely.
Mm.
If I may, how do you think those values that you prioritized while building the Swiss quality, especially in its first 2 3 years, how do you think those influence the company's culture and how they influence the success of the company?
It would be interesting to ask our colleagues also what they think about. What I think is it was crucial for our success, because especially if you're in the early phases of a company, you have a very clear idea. I know that we had a very clear idea, but then comes reality and life, and things work differently. Um, for example, I had completely underestimated what it takes to move to Switzerland, to arrive there, and to build a company. I was maybe even kind of naive, maybe from a perspective of the European Union. It's not so complicated to go to France or Italy to create well, in Italy I never did it, but somewhere in Europe to create a company. In Switzerland, only when we started that venture, I realized, well, yes, you quit the European Union. This
Yes,
is completely different, even if it's not far, even if it's more or less the same language. This is a complete different talk. So this was something. What I wanted to say is you don't pre-see everything exactly. You learn on the journey. We adapted on the journey, and I think it was crucial that we were that open-minded and integrative with our team that came from really everywhere on the world with every different expertise that you can imagine. And also you and me let us the space to focus on our fields of expertise to build something. You have to start somewhere and you try several directions, and then you see, here something is working, something is coming up. So you focus maybe on this. And I
Absolutely.
think therefore this openness or inclusiveness and diversity was very, very crucial.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing that. I would like that we move to talking about the achievements of the company and the major milestones. In your opinion, what are some of the proudest moments or milestones in your journey with the Swiss quality?
Hmm. Where do I start? So my first very, very proud moment was when we had our bank account on our Swiss quality company's name. It was so complicated, not being yet a citizen, but almost, and then create the company. But before you had to have a bank account, and then you had to have an address, and then you could only get the contract for your office signed when you, and so on. It was just, I felt like turning around, and there were also, yes, you can if, and everything depended on everything. So I was very proud of this, even if this was just the beginning. I found it amazing when in the beginning we started to help influencers, professional influencers from the lifestyle coaching, health sector to grow and to see how fast this worked. And we there also, they were from all over the world and we worked so closely, like became friends. This really entered into our day-to-day life, and then see how quickly we could lead to success with wonderful videos, etc. Then came a phases where we more focused on B2B business, really with companies, and we went into this digital transformation consultancy. And then they're also not only consulting, but put in place, not only giving workshop to colleagues, not only helping to find a strategy, but also roll it out, put it in place, make things happen, choose the right tools, the right processes, implement software, create apps. So this whole package to grow with what your customer needs and trusts you with. Yeah, those were proud moments.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Um, I'd like to say, if we look back and you think of key decisions or strategies that you, as part of the management, have taken, what, in your opinion, drove this Swiss quality's growth and success? Which decisions or which strategies would you put forward?
I have to admit, those days I was reflecting a lot what I would do differently. So this is a bit more in the on the top of my mind. Um,
Any
we
one
had
decision or any one strategy that you think was pretty helpful?
Yes, I think in the beginning it was very helpful that we found our team in Switzerland, but still focused on a very international market. Um, but you know, as I said earlier, things change, and in our today's world, things change even more rapidly. And then we had some different moves. Not so long ago, we more focused on, or decided to focus more on the Swiss market. Um, And I think both were absolutely right to do.
by looking at the fact that you were already an entrepreneur in Germany and then that you took the decision actually to go international, to go to Switzerland and to invest in Switzerland, I would like to better understand how psychologically you reacted to that. Do you remember if you had any encouragement to go to Switzerland or any reasons that actually you made you hesitate to go to Switzerland? Anything around those lines?
Yeah. So I can share that in me very personally, I think since always I had this uh, longing for leaving or discovering the world. And after having lived quite for a long time in the same place, I felt it's time to move on. So this was exciting and motivating for me. Um, what let me hesitate, but not too much, if I remember well. Um, I had bought a house in northern Germany, and I have family and friends there, and it's a step, and I was um, not anymore in my early 20s or 30s. It's a step to sell the house, to sell everything in the house, to leave your job and be far from your family and friends. So it's more on this personal level. Um, that I don't know if hesitating is this the right word, but which made me think and where it needed some courage. But basically, it was just, yeah, let's do it. Let's go there. Let's do something new.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is great, great stuff. Thank you very much for sharing this. Um, if you allow me, I would like to move a little bit further with the questions, and I would like to ask you more about your entrepreneur insights related to this quality. Say, for example, today, when you're thinking back, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who are just starting out in the consultancy or business field?
Yeah. So, of course, you have to have a very clear vision on what you want to do, but you also have to have a pretty clear idea on how to do it. So, which processes need to be built up and put in place. Um, I think it's crucial that you not only have a very trusted team and partner, but that you make clear who does what and how do we deal with each other. Startups sometimes are in a lovely way a bit chaotic, which is great and which helps them to grow quickly. But you also need a structure, even if you're just one, two, five, or 10 people. Um, I feel like this is underestimated in the beginning. We don't need this. We are young, dynamic, but sooner or later you get to this moment where you do need it. So it's not a bad thing to integrate this quite early.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing. I would like to ask you, when you were thinking about moving internationally and creating a company outside your country, how did you form your most important international connections? How did your social network play a role in that?
Excuse me. You mean my social network in when I moved to Switzerland
Yes,
or?
just before moving, how did your social network encourage you or discourage you from going
Mhm,
international and creating a company in Switzerland?
mhm. Um, my close network, like very good friends and family, they encouraged me on a lot of things in my life. And they also straightforward encouraged me with this step. Um, Besides that, I have heard people saying, "Oh, really?" And like, I was 48 when I moved to Switzerland, if I remember right. And people reacted in a way like at or this is how I perceived it. At that age, you already have your house, your family, your career. Now just stay there and develop, right? Grow. Um, And I didn't feel like this, and I still don't feel like this today, and I never felt like this. And I saw people being very surprised how, at that age, for an idea for a startup, you could sell your house, quit your job, and embark this adventure. But for me, yes, it was exciting, but it didn't feel like an adventure. Like, let's see if we get somewhere. But no, I was very, very confident and very sure what we're going to build, and that we will build this, and that we will manage this. Um, and I think it was also a good approach to business-wise to move step by step. Um, so yeah, as I said, my close family and trusted friends, for them that was not very surprising that I would restart all over again.
Absolutely. Do you maintain those connections today, and how?
Absolutely, I do maintain this. This is very different with my wonderful beloved mom. It's phone and in-person visits, unfortunately not enough, but if so, then very, very heartedly, because she doesn't use a computer or something, so we can see each other on Zoom. Yeah, and of course with friends, too little personal contact. I just was on a kind of northern Germany tour, which I felt filled my heart to see very close and good friends, spend time with them, and also see the very different nature. So much I'm in love every morning when I open the eyes and I see the mountains. I was surprised and realized it also did me good to see this very flat Lower Saxony and Hamburg and so on area, and the very different colors. um, yeah, it was great. So resourced and back to Switzerland.
Great. Do you feel that digital platforms like LinkedIn, for example, do contribute to keeping and maintaining and nurturing those connections and those relationships?
Oh yes, of course, absolutely, absolutely. Um, to stay, of course, LinkedIn is a business network, and I'm very happy that this is the case. But business is made of people, and it absolutely helps to stay in contact with people, to also follow on updates and news and paths that people take, even if you're not in contact maybe for a few weeks or months, but you always have the possibility to see where they go, how they move on, and then from time to time catch up personally.
Do you
It's
use other than platform? Do you use other digital platforms?
Yes, of course, I do use different social media platforms. But if it comes to business, LinkedIn for me is the number one. I also use YouTube, and it took me a while to even try to use TikTok. Like a few years ago, I thought this is just sorry girls, but girly stuff. But yeah, of course, I realized that also Instagram, TikTok, they're very important today, and also in terms of business. And
Yes.
I will continue to tell my customers, because I'm surprised sometimes that people do not realize how much those platforms grow, and how important, how helpful, how great, how many opportunities they give to connect, a great network. Yes, absolutely.
I hear from many entrepreneurs and CEOs who have moved out of Germany who say that the very high taxes that they have seen in Germany were one of the reasons that contributed to them actually looking to go international. Would you say that government policy in your home country influenced your ability to form international connections and to go for an international effort?
I don't know how politically I want to be in this chat, but I have to admit that I am not very positive on some developments in Germany.
Right.
And I am hoping that our politicians also find courage again and find a way. I know that this is not easy in the political world, but find a way, like our companies do, like our corporates do, even if they're very big, to be very modern, to move on, to be agile, to
Right.
change, to adapt to society and the needs of the people. And in some aspects today, I feel that other countries do a better job in this. And it makes me sad because I grew up in a country where we were so proud, made in Germany, and criticized, also righteously criticized, but criticized from many people outside of Germany. But we have a wonderful history you can be proud of. The generation of my parents to rebuild a country, and then from go to a huge success story in terms of economy and brands and creation and entrepreneurship. Yeah, and those days I'm a bit sad on some of the development.
Of course, in our videos on our channel, we don't talk politics or religion, but speaking in very generic terms, as you just mentioned, that in your opinion, it seems that some of the German politicians are not optimized at decision making, let's say. I'd say in your own business, how do you approach decision making, especially when I hear you talking about VUCA times and uncertainty and that we cannot anymore plan for the future, even the near future, because one never knows, especially with what we have seen recently, all of this industrial action and the weather related action where hundreds and thousands of flights get canceled and you have hundreds of thousands of people go into airports and not being able to fly. How do you approach decision making in such crazy, if I may, business environment?
I think what is absolutely crucial is to do these two different things. Like you need to have, it's more and more important to really have a clear vision of where you want to go, what you want to become, and to have a very clear vision on the how, meaning on the base of which values, on the base of what kind of business and what manners in business or dealing with your colleagues, etc., you want to be an entrepreneur. This is one. I think you really have to have this far view and the clear vision of who you want to be, who you want to become, and how. And on the other side, you need to remain very, very flexible to be easily adapted to the ever changing circumstances, environments, and I will not come up with the pandemic again, but things like this happen all the time. Things that even if the best analysis, etc., and scenario planning and so on, you cannot foresee. You do not know how politics will change the environment, how nature will, how many things will change. There's so many things going on in the world. You cannot foresee and plan for all of those. So today it's more crucial than ever, I think, to be very solid in your long lasting view, in your foresight, and at the same time be very dynamic and flexible to get there. It's not the long street where you just type into your sat nav and then you go there, but you need to find your way to get to your goal, you know. And
Absolutely.
there you need to be very creative and adaptive.
Absolutely. Okay. So this was quality, 6 years so far, grew up, went from two people working together to a group of 40, 45 people working together. And now there is a transition to Claruna.
Yeah, you said it, you published it.
So Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time, but I would really love to ask you, as you're embarking now on this new journey with Claruna, what excites you most about this new venture?
Well, where to start? So many things. Um, I shared with you that in this program where I was sitting in Scotland and I wrote down, and then after the CEO experience, I want to help other people and organizations to grow, to discover their full potential and to flourish. This is really, really deep in my heart because back then I got this. I got my first coaching. I had this wonderful trainings, how to think into the future. And I was so grateful for this. This had such a big impact on my life. And back then, when I said I wanted to be able to give this to people one day, now I have done this at the Swiss Quality, but I have also focused together with you to grow the company and to move into new sectors. Um, and now I feel I really want to focus again, to focus on business consulting and coaching, but on a very new and modern way, with a very new approach. And um, yeah, I'm so excited and so fulfilled with joy that I yeah can focus on this. And still, my biggest wish and inner driver is to enable companies and leaders to flourish and grow. And this is where I give all my energy, my ideas, my own learning, and my excitement and commitment into.
This is absolutely amazing. I just wish we have more time so that I can ask you the other half of the questions that I have prepared for this meeting, and that unfortunately today you haven't had the opportunity to ask. But Bärbel Wetenkamp, I really want to thank you from the deepest point of my heart. And please, please promise that you will be back to this channel and we will see you again to talk more about Claruna. Have you already registered the company officially?
I'm in the middle of the process.
Okay. Do we have
We
branding
have
guidelines? Do we have a logo?
I'm in the middle of the process. Maybe a bit further than the middle.
Okay.
I worked last night on it, Mark.
Okay, that's great. That's
I'm
great.
more than happy to come back and to share also from this new journey uh, what works, what doesn't work, which deviations I will take. I'm very happy, and it was so great talking to you.
Right. So that would be claruna.com, correct?
It will, yes.
Okay. Any freebies, any downloads, anything special for the people watching you today?
Give me a few days to create all of this.
Okay.
This was
Please,
a pre-sneak preview, if you wish.
absolutely. Please promise us that you will be back as soon as Claruna is established. You will be back to this program and you will tell us more about Claruna and how, frankly, I'm most interested in seeing how the success that you have had at the Swiss Quality has translated to even more success at Claruna.
Let's hope so. And I'm happy to share with you also why Claruna, what is behind this name.
Well, Weddingkamp, thank you very much. We really highly appreciate it. Thank you for having given us this time, and we look forward to seeing you again. For everybody watching us, I would say please like this channel, subscribe, and do follow us and share. And if you don't like what we are presenting, that's absolutely fine, but please tell us in the comments. Thank you very much, Bärbel.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All the
Bärbel. Have a
best.
great day. Thank you.